Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English in Advance. I'm your host, Jennifer, and I'm super excited to be with you today, diving into a topic that I truly believe can change everything about how you learn English. We're going to talk about the awesome power of thinking in English. This isn't just a small tip or a trick you learn, it's a huge step in truly making English feel like it's really yours. A clear path to really getting good at it and making it feel like your own thoughts. Now, I know that for a lot of you, the idea of actually thinking in English might seem like a dream far, far away. Maybe something only really fluent speakers can do after years and years of practice. You might be thinking, Jennifer, my brain just always goes back to my first language. Every single time I hear an English word or try to make an English sentence, my mind instantly wants to change it into what I already know. And honestly, that's completely normal. Feeling like you need to translate is super common, especially when you're just starting out or even when you're getting better but not quite fluent. Your brain is just trying to be helpful, trying to build connections between what it knows and this new language. But here's the thing, even though translating can be a good starting point, like a little bridge to help you cross a small gap, if you lean on it too much, it can actually become a big problem that stops you from speaking English easily and naturally. Imagine trying to have a quick, lively chat with someone, but you've got this tiny interpreter constantly going off in your head, whispering translations back and forth. It would be totally exhausting, right? It would slow you down so much, make it really hard to keep up with the conversation's speed, and probably even stop you from truly understanding the small meanings, the subtle jokes, and the emotional vibes in English. You'd always be a step behind, just reacting to what was already said instead of really being in the moment. Thinking in English, though, is like finally getting rid of that little helper in your head. It's about making a direct, quick connection between an idea, a picture, a feeling, or a thought, and the English words and phrases that mean it. When you see a bright red apple, instead of first thinking its name in your own language and then finding the English word apple, you just see the apple and the word apple pops straight into your mind. No detours. When you feel happy, the English word happy just shows up in your thoughts directly without needing to go through your first language's word for happiness. It's about building brand new paths in your mind that skip the whole translation step. This might sound like a huge leap, and you might be wondering, how on earth do I even begin to do that? My brain has been wired for years, maybe even decades, to think in my native language. Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. It's not like you just flip a switch and suddenly all your thoughts are magically in English. Not at all. It's a gradual journey, a skill that you grow and make better over time with steady effort, a good dose of patience, and the right ways of doing things. Think of it like learning any new habit, like learning to play a musical instrument or finally getting the hang of riding a bicycle. At first, it feels awkward and needs a lot of focused effort, a lot of wobbling, and maybe even a few tumbles. But with practice, with trying again and again, it becomes more and more automatic, smoother, and completely natural. That first feeling of being a bit uncomfortable, that's just a sign that your brain is busy building powerful new connections. So, with all these awesome benefits in mind, why is this change from translating to thinking in English so important? So truly key for really stepping up your English skills and reaching that next level of fluency? Let's talk about some major advantages that I hope will really get you pumped up for this journey. First off, and you'll probably notice this right away, it makes you much faster and more fluent. When you're not constantly translating every single word and phrase, you can understand and speak English way, way quicker. This is absolutely essential in real life conversations where things can move fast and you need to be able to get what's being said and answer quickly. Imagine trying to tell a funny story or explain something a bit complicated, but having to hit pause in your head after every few words or every sentence to translate it back and forth. The joke would definitely fall flat. The explanation would be choppy and confusing, and the whole flow of talking would be totally messed up. Thinking directly in English lets you keep up with the natural speed and rhythm of spoken English and express yourself more spontaneously and smoothly. You become a true part of the conversation, not just someone trying to figure out what's going on. Secondly, it helps you really grasp the small details and common sayings of the English language. Like we talked about, languages aren't just collections of words that have exact matches in other languages. They are alive, breathing systems with their own special ways of saying things, their own cultural feel wrapped right into the language itself. Many English idioms, slang, and common everyday phrases just don't make sense if you try to translate them word for word into another language. If you're always trying to find a direct translation, you'll probably miss the real meaning completely, or you'll sound very unnatural, maybe even a bit like a robot. Thinking in English lets you understand these common phrases as complete ideas, getting the feeling, the reason, and the cultural background behind them, rather than just adding up the individual words. For example, if someone says they're feeling under the weather, thinking in English helps you quickly get that they mean they're a bit sick without getting stuck on the literal words under and weather, which would just confuse you. You get the whole picture right away. Thirdly, and this is a huge boost for how you feel about yourself, it really builds your confidence. When you find yourself able to think directly in English, even just for small things, it's an incredibly powerful sign that you're making real progress. It means you're connecting more deeply with the language, and this can hugely increase how sure you feel when speaking and using English. You're no longer leaning on a mental helper. You're dealing with the language head on, really owning it. This increased confidence then makes you more willing to practice, to start conversations, and to use English in more real world, sometimes tricky situations, creating a wonderful positive cycle of getting better and better. The more sure you feel, the more you'll use English, and the more you use English, the more confident you'll become. It's a win-win. Fourthly, and this is more about how the language works inside your head, it helps you get a better, more natural feel for English grammar and how sentences are put together. When you're thinking in English, you're not just putting together translated words based on your native language's grammar rules. You're starting to really get the natural flow, the common patterns, and the right way to build English sentences. You begin to develop a true ear or a sense of what sounds right and what doesn't, even if you can't always explain the exact grammar rules behind it. This natural understanding is super valuable for speaking English correctly and sounding natural without having to actively think about rules every single time. It's like a dancer who no longer thinks about each individual step, but just moves smoothly and beautifully. So, with all these amazing advantages floating around, how do we actually start to get this habit of thinking in English? It's a journey, like I said, and it begins with small, steady steps. You won't get it perfect overnight, but every little bit of careful effort helps you reach this powerful goal. Here are some practical, clear ways you can add this practice to your daily learning routine, with lots of examples and chances for you to practice. Start by naming things around you. Build your own English bubble. This is a really great and simple way to begin building those direct connections between everyday objects and their English words, completely skipping your first language. Take a moment right now, wherever you are, and just look around you. What do you see? Instead of thinking of the object's name in your first language, actively try to think of its English name. See a table? Think table. See a lamp? Think lamp. A chair? Chair. A book? Book. A curtain? Curtain. The goal here is to make an immediate, direct connection, like a quick flash of understanding, without any translating happening in between. You can take this a step further by physically making an English bubble around you. Grab some small sticky notes or pieces of paper. Write the English names for common things around your home or where you work. Door, window, fridge, cupboard, TV, remote control, pillow, blanket. Stick these notes on the correct objects. Every time you see that object, and especially every time you look at the note, carefully say the English word in your mind. Don't just glance at it, really connect with it. For example, as you open the door, think door. As you pick up a cup, think cup. This repeated seeing and thinking helps to strongly connect that direct link in your brain. It's like training a pet. The more you repeat, the faster it learns. Let's try a quick practice right now. Look around where you are. Can you name 5 things that are close to you or that you can easily see? Now, quietly say their English names in your head. For instance, if you're in a room, you might name a pen, a notebook, a phone, a water bottle, and a backpack. Just focus on making that direct mental link. Don't sweat the spelling or grammar right now. This is purely about knowing the word for the thing. Talk about what you're doing. Each day in English, your own mental English diary. Throughout your day, as you go about your normal routine, try to quietly describe what you are doing, seeing, or feeling in simple English. This is like keeping an ongoing, personal English diary in your head. For example, when you wake up, instead of letting your first language jump in, try to think, I'm waking up. I'm getting out of bed. It's a sunny morning. When you're making breakfast, think, I'm making coffee. I'm getting toast ready. The toaster is hot. When you're walking to work or school, think, I'm walking on the street. I see a tall building. The cars are busy today. Notice how I'm using I'm instead of I am here. It's more natural in everyday speech. These inner talks, even if they are very basic and maybe not perfectly correct at first, are incredibly powerful. They help you get into the habit of forming English sentences naturally and linking your actions and feelings directly with English words and sentence patterns. The most important thing here is to do it often. Try to do this for a few minutes whenever you have some quiet time. Don't worry about making perfect sentences or using difficult words. Just let the English flow in your mind. It's all about building that muscle memory for your brain. Try this now. Think about one simple thing you did earlier today, or something you are about to do in the next hour. Can you describe it to yourself in 2 or 3 simple English sentences, completely in your head? For example, I just had lunch. It was tasty. Now I gotta check my emails. Notice gotta for have to. Super common. Or, I'm gonna take a break soon. I'll grab some water, then I'll head back to my work. See gonna for going to and grab some water for get some water. Very natural. Think in English when you find new words. building a picture in your mind, not a translation. When you find a new English word, try not to immediately just remember its meaning in your first language. Instead, carefully try to understand what it means within the English sentence. Look closely at the sentence it's used in. See if there are any other words that give you clues about what it means. Try to guess the meaning from the words around it. If you still need help, use an English-only dictionary to find what it means and see example sentences in English. The goal here is to form a picture in your mind or a clear idea connected to the English word directly without needing to use a translated word as a middle step. For example, if you learn the word peaceful, instead of just remembering its meaning in your language, try to imagine a calm lake, a quiet forest, a soft, silent morning. Pictures and feelings that show what peaceful truly means. This builds a richer, more direct understanding. It's like adding new, vivid photos to your mental English dictionary. Let's say you just learned the word thrilled. Instead of just finding its meaning in your language, try to think of things that make you feel thrilled. Getting good news, going on an amazing adventure, seeing your favorite band live. Can you make a simple English sentence using thrilled based on one of these pictures or feelings? For example, I'm so thrilled about my upcoming trip. Or, she was thrilled to get the job. Change your devices to English. Immerse yourself without even trying hard. This might seem like a small thing, but it can make a big difference over time by making you always be around English without even putting in extra effort. If you use a phone, a computer, or any apps that let you change the language, switch them to English. This makes you use these everyday tools and digital spaces in English, always showing you useful English words and phrases in situations you already know how they work. Even if it feels a little hard or confusing at first, your brain will quickly get used to it, and you'll be amazed how many words you pick up just by using your devices. It's a form of passive learning that adds up big time. Take a moment to think about one device or app you use often. Perhaps your phone's main system, your social media app, or your email. Could you change its language to English today? What are some common menu items, buttons, or messages you might see that will now be in English? For example, instead of settings, you'll see settings. Instead of send, you'll see send. Instead of home, you'll see home. Being around English like this again and again is a strong, easy way to make your English connection stronger. It's a no-brainer. Watch and listen to English things and think about them in English. Go beyond just watching. When you're watching English movies or TV shows, listening to English music or podcasts, or reading English books or articles, make a clear effort to not just watch or listen, but to actively think about it in English. Ask yourself questions in English. What are the characters feeling? What might happen next? What's the main idea of this article? Do I agree with this? Can you tell yourself what you just heard or read in your own English words, even if it's just in your mind? Crucially, try not to use subtitles in your first language, as this almost always keeps your brain firmly in translating mode. If you need subtitles to understand, choose English subtitles. This helps you connect the spoken word with the written word in English, which can still help you understand while keeping you fully in the English language. Even if you don't understand every single word, focus on getting the main idea. Get the gist of it. Your brain is very good at finding patterns, and it will learn more than you think. Don't worry if you miss a few things, just keep going. Think about a short scene from a movie you enjoy or a line from a song you like. or even a short news story you read online. Can you try to describe what's happening, what the main point is, or what the lyrics mean in simple English sentences in your mind? For example, if it's a song, the singer sounds a bit down. He's singing about a relationship that went south. The music feels kind of sad. Went south is a common way to say something failed or got worse. Talk to yourself in English regularly, your secret speaking practice. This might feel a little strange or even silly at first, but it's a super helpful and low pressure way to practice thinking and speaking in English without feeling nervous about talking to someone else. Choose a topic. It could be your plans for the day, a movie you saw recently, your opinion about something, or even just what you see around you. And just start talking to yourself in English. Do it quietly in your head or even softly out loud if you're by yourself. The goal here is to get comfortable making English sentences, linking ideas, and saying your thoughts out loud in English. Don't sweat making mistakes. This is your private, safe place to try things out freely. You can do this while you're alone, perhaps while cooking, cleaning, taking a shower, or going for a walk. It's a continuous stream of thoughts in English. For example, imagine you're cooking dinner. You could say to yourself, quietly or softly, "Okay, I'm making dinner tonight. First up, gotta wash these veggies. Then I'll chop them up real small. After that, I'll heat the pan and pour in some oil." Notice first up and chop them up and pour in some oil. Very common, natural ways to say things. Try this now. Think about what you're planning to do after you finish listening to this. Can you describe your plans to yourself in English for a minute or two, silently in your head? For instance, I plan to chill out for a bit. I'll read a chapter of my book. Then I might hit up a friend. Chill out means relax, and hit up a friend means contact a friend. Use English-only dictionaries, building English links, not just translations. We talked about this before, but it's important to say again because it's so key to stopping the translation habit. When you look up a word in an English-only dictionary, you get its meaning explained using other English words. This keeps your brain working inside the English language system and helps you build a rich network of connections between English words and ideas instead of just using direct, often incomplete translations to your first language. It builds groups of meanings all within English. When you use an English-only dictionary, pay attention to words that mean similar things, words that mean the opposite, and especially the example sentences. Try to understand the word based on these English explanations. This process helps you to think about words in terms of other English words, which is how people who speak English from birth understand their own language. The next time you find a new English word, make a clear effort to look it up in an English-only dictionary first. Read what it means and the example sentences. Then try to explain the meaning of that word in your own simple English words, as if you were explaining it to another English learner. For instance, if you look up awesome in an English-only dictionary, it might say extremely impressive or daunting, inspiring, great admiration. You could then think, so if something is awesome, it's really, really good or impressive. That concert last night was totally awesome. Notice totally awesome. A very common informal way to express enthusiasm. See pictures in your mind in English. Beyond words, into direct images. This is a very strong way to make your English thinking better. When you hear an English word, try to create a clear picture in your mind that is directly connected to that word, without first changing it into a word in your native language. For example, if you hear the word cozy, try to picture a warm fireplace, a comfy blanket, a cup of tea on a rainy day. Things that make you feel warm and comfortable. If you hear the word rush hour, try to imagine a street full of cars, people everywhere, everyone trying to get somewhere fast. This connects the English word directly to something you can see, hear, or feel. Building these direct visual links helps to skip your first language's influence and makes your ability to think in English stronger at a deeper, more conceptual level. It's like making a mental dictionary where the entries are not just translations, but rich, full experiences connected directly to English words. This makes your understanding much deeper, more natural, and much clearer. Let's try this one last time. When I say the word adventure, what picture comes to your mind? Do you see exploring a new place, climbing a mountain, traveling somewhere far away, or maybe doing something exciting? Try to just see and feel the adventure, directly linked to the English sound and idea of adventure. Carefully, try to think your thoughts. Directly in English, the heart of the practice. This is perhaps the hardest but also the most rewarding part of thinking in English. When you have a thought or an idea, any thought, big or small, make a clear, careful effort to think it directly in English, rather than first thinking it in your native language and then changing it. This needs you to be watchful and correct yourself often, and you might find yourself struggling or feeling stuck sometimes. That is completely normal. Even native speakers sometimes get stuck for a word or phrase. When you find a word or phrase that you don't know in English, try not to immediately switch back to your native language. Instead, try to talk around the word using other English words you know, describing the idea or concept. This is a skill that even people who speak English from birth use when they forget a word. For example, if you want to think about a gadget but can't remember the exact word, you might think, it's a small electronic thing. It does something useful, like a little device for your phone. By doing this, you're still practicing English and you're building your ability to say your thoughts even with limited words. Later, you might hear or read the word gadget, and you'll make that direct link. Think about a simple opinion you have on something that happened recently, a common topic, or even something you saw on the news today. Can you try to think that opinion in English in your mind right now, without first thinking about it in your native language? For example, I think social media can be a double-edged sword. It's great for connecting, but it can also be a real time drain. Double-edged sword is a common idiom meaning something that has both good and bad consequences. Time drain means something that wastes a lot of time. Practice thinking in different English situations. Broaden your mental world. Don't just think in English about your daily actions. Try to think in English in different situations and for different reasons. This makes your mental landscape much richer. Planning in English. If you're planning your day, your week, or even a simple trip to the grocery store, try to do all the planning in your head in English. First, I need to pick up some milk. Then I should grab some veggies for dinner. After that, I'll hit the bank. Notice pick up, grab, and hit the bank. Very common informal phrases. Solving problems in English. When you have a small problem, try to think through the solution in English. My Wi-Fi is acting up. I should try restarting the router. If that doesn't work, I'll have to call customer service. Acting up is an informal way to say something isn't working right. Saying how you feel in English? Carefully name your feelings in English. I'm feeling a bit wiped out today. I'm pumped about the weekend. This situation's got me a little frustrated. Wiped out means very tired. Pumped means very excited. Got me is a common way to say makes me. Debating with yourself in English. Pick a simple topic and argue both sides of it in your head, using English. This is great for making your thinking stronger and forming more complex sentences in English. Should I go out tonight? On the one hand, it'd be fun. On the other hand, I'm kinda tired and could use the rest. On the one hand, on the other hand, is a classic way to show two sides of an argument. Kinda is a common informal contraction for kind of. Build an active English word list from just knowing to actually using. It's one thing to know a word when you see or hear it, but it's quite another to be able to use it naturally in your own thoughts and speech. This is about building your active vocabulary. When you learn a new word, don't just write it down with its meaning in your first language. Actively try to use it in a few simple sentences, even if they're just sentences you say to yourself in your head or softly out loud. This moves the word from your passive vocabulary, words you understand, to your active vocabulary, words you can actually remember and use easily. For example, if you learn the word flourish, meaning to grow or develop in a healthy or vigorous way, especially as the result of a particularly favorable environment. Try thinking, my new garden is really starting to flourish. She moved to a new city and began to flourish in her career. Businesses often flourish in a strong economy. The more you actively use new words in your inner talks and thoughts, the more they will become part of how you naturally think and say things in English. You're creating strong paths in your brain that make these words easy to find when you need them. See mistakes as chances to learn. Embrace the journey. Please, please don't be afraid to make mistakes when you're thinking in English. This is your own private space inside your head where you can try things out freely without anyone judging you. No one is there to correct you right away, so use it as a safe playground to experiment with new words, new sentence structures, and new ways of saying things. The more you try, the more natural and correct your English thoughts will become. Mistakes are not failures. They are absolutely important stepping stones on the way to becoming good at something. Welcome them as clear signs that you are pushing your limits and getting better. It's all part of the game. Consistency is key. The power of small daily actions that add up. Learning to think in English is not something that happens quickly. It's a habit you build over time, little by little. The most important thing here is to do it often. Try to add these practices into your daily life, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. You might start with 5 minutes of quiet narration in the morning, then 5 minutes of naming objects while you cook, and then 5 minutes of carefully thinking about an English podcast you heard. The more you regularly do these small acts of English thinking, the stronger your English thinking muscles will become. Small, steady efforts, built up over time, lead to truly amazing and lasting results. It's like building a big wall brick by brick. Remember that every single thought you manage to form directly in English, every time you successfully skip translating, you are making progress. If you spend even 10 to 15 minutes a day actively trying to think in English, you'll see a clear, big change in how smoothly you speak and how well you understand over just a few weeks or months. It's about creating a new, more effective way for your brain to work with language, like making a direct, smooth path through the woods instead of a winding, rough one. A real-life story. My friend's English breakthrough. Let me share a quick story about my friend Anya. She moved to Canada a few years ago for university, and she was pretty good at English when she got there. Knew her grammar, had a decent vocabulary, but she always told me she felt like she was translating in her head all the time. Conversations felt slow, and she'd sometimes miss jokes or deeper meanings. She was feeling pretty down about it for a while. One day, she decided to really try thinking in English. She started small, like we talked about. Every morning, while making her coffee, she'd silently narrate what she was doing. Okay, time to make some coffee. Grab the mug, get the kettle, fill it with water. Then she'd label things in her tiny apartment, literally putting sticky notes everywhere. She started listening to English podcasts about things she actually cared about, like true crime and cooking. And she'd force herself to summarize each episode in her head afterwards, using only English. At first, it was a struggle. She told me her thoughts felt choppy and she'd get frustrated. My brain just wants to go back to my own language. She'd sigh. But she stuck with it, day in and day out, for just 15 to 20 minutes of active English thinking. She used an English-only dictionary on her phone for every new word, always trying to understand it from its English definition. After about 6 months, she called me, practically yelling with excitement. "Jennifer, you won't believe it. I was walking to class today and I was just thinking about my assignment. And it was all in English, like actual flowing English sentences. I wasn't translating at all, it just happened." She was over the moon. From that point on, her English truly took off. Her conversations became so much more fluid. She started getting jokes, joining in on quick back and forths, and expressing herself with a naturalness she hadn't had before. She said it felt like a huge weight had been lifted. Her confidence soared, and she even started helping other international students with their English, telling them to think in English. Anya's story isn't unique. It's a real example of what happens when you commit to this practice. It takes effort, yes, but the payoff is immense. One last very strong piece of advice for ending our talk. Try to feel and understand ideas in your mind directly in English. This goes beyond just words and pictures. When you hear or read an English word or phrase, try to connect it to an emotion, a feeling, or a deeper understanding without linking it to a word in your native language. For example, if you hear the phrase, a warm embrace, don't just think of its meaning in your language. Instead, feel the warmth, the comfort, the sense of being held tightly. If you hear a daunting task, feel the challenge, the slight worry, the weight of the effort required. This linking of not just pictures but also feelings and deeper understandings makes the direct link between the English word or phrase and the idea stronger, completely skipping your native language. It's like making a truly full mental dictionary where the entries are not translations but rich, multisensory, and emotionally meaningful experiences, all connected directly to English. This makes your understanding much deeper, more natural, and truly more human. Let's try this one last time for a final thought. When I say the phrase, a fresh breeze, what do you experience in your mind? Do you feel a gentle coolness on your skin, hear a soft, rustling sound, or perhaps see trees moving gently? Try to just feel the fresh breeze, directly linked to the English phrase, and let that be the main experience. So, to sum up our detailed talk, thinking in English is not just a nice skill to have. It's a big practice that will truly change how you learn, how you use, and how you eventually master the English language. It makes your answers faster and more natural, helps you understand the small details and cultural meanings of English better. And most importantly, it builds your confidence by making the language feel more natural, easier to understand, and much, much simpler to use. Start small by doing quiet daily talks in your head, naming things around you, and carefully trying to understand and think about English things you watch or listen to without translating. Make a clear effort to talk to yourself, describe how you feel and what you think, and use English only dictionaries to build stronger English only connections. Most importantly, be patient with yourself, welcome the learning journey, and keep practicing often. Feel good about every single thought you manage to form in English, no matter how simple. This journey of thinking in English will truly open up a new level of language learning for you. You'll find that English becomes less like a puzzle you're always trying to solve and more like a natural, living part of your own thoughts. And that, my friends, is when the real joy, the easy flow, and the deep happiness of speaking and understanding English truly begin. Keep practicing, keep thinking, and you'll be absolutely amazed at how much you get better. Thank you for joining me on English in Advance, and I look forward to our next deep dive into English mastery together.